This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and today we have invited representatives of parties looking for your vote in the Guildford divisions in the forthcoming Surrey County Council election. Sadly, the Conservatives have declined to participate. A spokesman from the Conservative Party said, "We have decided that we will not be taking part in any online hustings so that we can concentrate our efforts on speaking to people directly." Anyway, undaunted, we're going to continue with representing the Green Party, Sam Peters, who's standing in Sheer, representing the Guildford Greenbelt Group, Susan Parker, a former leader of GGG and a party spokesperson who is not a candidate in this election, representing the Labour Party, Anne Rouse, who's standing in Guildford North, representing the Liberal Democrats, George Potter, a candidate for Guildford East, representing the Peace Party, John Morris, a candidate for Guildford West, and representing the Residents for Guildford and Villages, Liz Hyland, a candidate for Guildford East. Welcome to you all, and thank you very much for participating. We are going to be splitting the debate into 4 separate episodes, and in this first episode, I'm asking what are your issues, your main issues that you are campaigning on and why. So to kick off, I will ask each of you, I will give each of you an uninterrupted minute to answer that question, very concisely please, before we get into the debate. And we'll run this first section so that the spokespeople go in alphabetical order by their party. So we're going to start with Sam Peters. Sam, if you could start, please.
So to avoid splitting the vote, the Green Party and the Liberal Democrats are standing down for each other in every seat across Guildford. And especially with the Green Party standing in more rural areas, it's protecting the Green Belt from overdevelopment, which is the key issue for us. But as I've made clear in my articles in The Dragon, the Green Party is not a single issue party. I'd say we still have by far the strongest environmental policies, but we know residents also care about cuts to public services, to social care, education, fire stations, public transport, about litter, fly tipping, making roads safer, countless other issues. The Green Party councillors at all levels have been at the forefront of not just protecting the Greenbelt from overdevelopment, but of all these issues and more. We stand for coherent, joined up thinking on policies. For example, making walking and cycling safer is not just a good thing in itself. It takes cars off the road, improves air quality, lowers health impacts, it reduces traffic and the wear and tear on roads, and it encourages more people into local village shops. This one policy alone can have a knock-on effect on all these areas, and it's that kind of joined-up thinking that we're in dire need of at Surrey County Council more than ever.
That's your minute, Sam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next minute will come from Susan Parker. Susan.
Thank you. Guildford Greenbelt Group is an established local party. We don't take our instructions from head office or from a central council or a central conference. We answer only to the voters of Guildford. And we're an established party because we've had councillors since 2015. We have an absolutely complete commitment to the environment. We have consistently protected our environment and sought to protect our environment and put it front and centre of our policies. We have a track record within Guildford of launching climate change workshops well before the current initiative. We did it in the last administration. We set up air quality.
That's your minute, I'm afraid, Susan. Thank you very much. Okay, and next we go on to Anne Rouse, please, from the Labour Party.
As the main issue for the Labour Party is we'd like to look at rebuilding communities. We feel that there have been cuts to all sorts of services, and these have been actually demonstrated during the COVID crisis. Cuts in education have made children's services all the worse, actually. Children's centres were a standout feature, and as school governor, I actually went to a meeting where the Tory county councillor said how wonderful they were and then proceeded to cut them in later years. I also would like to look at the mental health aspects of the COVID crisis and to look at the way we're actually looking after our older members of the community, integrating social care in with the health system. I understand that councils have to make cuts. I just think that as a councillor, you need to decide the best way to make those cuts. And
Okay,
if
that's your minute. Thank you, Anne.
Thank
Thank you very much. Okay, and the next one will be George Potter from the Liberal Democrats. Okay, George.
George, you're muted.
Thank you, well spotted. I apologise. Let me try that again. So, the Liberal Democrats have a record of delivering for local people. We have been, and we remain, the main anti-Conservative opposition in Guildford. We are the key opposition group on the county council, and Liberal Democrat councillors get things done for their communities. The Conservative administration has failed. It is letting people down, it is incompetent, and it is rife with mismanagement. We have a clear plan to deliver a green, competent, community-focused and caring county council that listens to residents and puts local needs first. We're the only party with a plan for what should change at the county council, and we're the only party best placed to beat the Conservatives in conjunction with the Greens in the share.
Thank you very much. And now we go to John Morris from the Peace Party.
Thank you very much. Peace depends on our striving for equality. And so looking at the county council expenditure, where we're not doing very well at all is on adult and child social care and on education. And so it's those areas that I will be concentrating on should anyone ask. To achieve the equality that we would seek, better care, more teachers, we need, as Surrey County Council and other county councils as well, to persuade the government to increase funding for these services. Without the increasing funding, we can't get equality. We won't be able to get the kind of services that everybody needs in order to be a peaceful person.
Thank you very much. Well, and very good on the timekeeping there, John. And lastly, we go to Liz Highland, who's representing the residents for Guildford and Villages.
Okay, R4GB would like to make sure that residents get value for the money that goes to Surrey County Council. We would like to fight the Conservatives' plans for a single unitary authority. We want to campaign for vital investment in the infrastructure in Guildford to make sure that development can be built on brownfield sites to protect the green belt and other green areas. We also would like to support and help the borough residents get back on track following the COVID crisis, and to support local business and to make sure that we can recover from the pandemic.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we've heard now the issues and policies on which you're campaigning. I'm going to go first to John. John, you've identified the two biggest areas of the county council budget, which is adult and adult social care and child social care. What can you actually do if you were in charge in the county council tomorrow? You said that it would rely on getting more money from the government, but that's not realistic, is it?
Well, where else is the money going to come from? I can't imagine many people wanting to see their council tax rising, which is one of the other sources of funding. As you know, a lot of the funding for Surrey County Council comes from the government anyway, in various forms, and so I think it's going to be up to the county council. I will be standing up in the chamber arguing that we must lobby hard for more to spend on the essential services, because what's being spent at the moment is just not enough.
But the council money, I mean, the government money comes from taxation too, doesn't it?
No, not in my view. I have a different view of how money works from many other people. The government doesn't run the country as if it's a household like our own households, which have to have an income in order to spend, to buy the food, pay the bills. So the money doesn't come from taxation. The government can say, as it has been saying, we've noticed this over the last year, when money is needed, it can be provided.
Okay, thank you. And if I may turn to you then, do you have a similar view on how the economy could work and that the government can supply the extra money regardless? If I can just remind everyone watching, 40% roughly of the Surrey County Council budget goes on adult social care, and a further roughly 15% on children's social care. Together, that comes to over £500 million. How would you tackle it if you were at the county council now?
Well, whilst I don't agree with the Conservative plans for a single unitary authority, it seems to me that there's money that can be saved by actually changing the way that the council is run. And the Labour policy is to split it into 3 unitary authorities. Now, by doing that, you'll save on the cost of 9 of the 12 civic centres, the wages of CEOs within those 9 centres. Also, paid and unpaid council numbers will go down. And I just think that it's a question of looking at spending less on those civic amenities and actually putting the money into the services that local residents require. We have to decide where our priorities are. You know, and it's difficult. Okay. There's always, as John said, there's always a budget. There's a budget in a family and a budget for a county council. But residents will make clear when they vote what they want that money to be spent on. And I think a key way of getting extra money is to actually remove the number of county councils that we have at the moment.
Okay. George, if I can come to you, do you think
councils?
Okay, thank you. George, do you think it's clear from an election result where people want money to be spent?
I don't think any election result gives you a clear answer as to what people want, because of course there's lots of people's views are always nuanced. But in answer to the question of how do we pay for the public services we need, how do we stop the closure of children's centres, how do we reverse the dangerous fire service cuts, how do we tackle climate change, how do we get the infrastructure we need, and how do we support our communities and our local businesses to recover from COVID? The answer is, I'm sorry, we support 3 unitary authorities in the long term as an option for Surrey, but those won't deliver savings anytime soon. They will take years to realise savings. The best place to start with funding public services properly is to stop the wide-scale incompetence and mismanagement of public money. Last year, the senior management pay at the council went up by £10 million. The county council has borrowed £444 million to invest in property, such as a shopping centre in Worcester. And even in March 2020, before the pandemic hit, that mostly retail property that they'd invested in had already lost 10% of its value. They can afford to borrow money, which we have to pay back, to waste on projects like that, but they can't provide things like key worker housing or retain council-owned care homes as opposed to selling them off. If you want good public services, you have to be prepared to invest in them. Okay. And Liberal Democrats have a record of making sure that where we're in power, we protect frontline services and we cut back office costs and we seek sensible spending.
Thank you, George. Susan, if I can come to you now. Now, you didn't mention adult or child social care, I don't think, in the main issues for the Guildford Greenbelt group. But of course, they are big issues in the county council. So what is your party's policy on those, and how what are the problems there, and what solutions would you bring?
They are absolutely vital, and they are of course of enormous importance. A minute is a very short time. Apologies, I didn't include them in the first minute, but they are absolutely of critical concern to everybody, and everybody benefits from them, and they're important and they need to be financed. We stand, amongst other things, for fiscal responsibility, and we have been a voice for cautious financial responsibility throughout our time on Guildford Council, and the same will be true for Surrey. I'm nervous about the magic money trees that are springing up across the borough while everybody's chopping down the other kind of trees. I am very worried that everybody seems to think that money can just be printed. And I'm not at all sure that I think the current administration or the recent administration under the Lib Dems has been as financially responsible as George was suggesting. I think that there has been a lot of spending.
Susan, that's at the Borough Council.
There is, but and indeed the same thing is true. But of course, there's Conservative majority in the county, and I think that there isn't, I think, a sense of financial responsibility among any of the parties, and I think we do need to spend a lot less on things that don't need to be spent, and I think we need to use our resources wisely and sensibly and not fritter money away, but make sure that we are spending money on the things we need.
Okay.
Perhaps we could use consultants rather less and spend money on social services rather more.
Okay, thank you. Sam, if I could come to you now. Now, like Susan, you did major on the environmental policies, which is quite understandable given your party's position. But you also said that you are aware of requiring an holistic approach to all the areas of government. So what have you identified as the main issues within child and adult care, and how would you ensure that the service can be either maintained or improved without going over budget?
Yeah, as I said, we are very much not a single issue party, and when you're looking at particular issues within social care, we've had a lot of good answers already. I would add to that the sort of short-termism and the focus on the private contracts and using these short-term contracts rather than in-house services. It looks like a saving on the balance sheet that particular year. But in the long run, we're spending far more on these private providers than if we do that ourselves. And that's the same in social care. It's the same on road maintenance. This kind of sort of kicking the budget can down the road is evident in everything that the Conservatives do on Surrey County Council. And that is one way of sort of long-term thinking, is not only a way to provide better services, but to spend less money in the long term by doing that.
Okay, thank you, Sam. And Liz, last but not least, can I put the same point to you then? What areas require improvement, do you think, in the areas of of adult and children's social care? And how would you find the resources to either maintain the current level of service or improve it?
I think the major thing is the Conservatives have been in charge at Surrey County Council for 24 years and there's been no opposition. So what is the level of scrutiny on the expenditure? There's money being wasted and we don't know where that is being wasted because nobody's asking the question. So I think there'll be cost savings in places that we are at the moment unaware of, and the money could be used in a different way and diverted towards still maintaining other parts of the services that the council provide. And I agree with the comments the others are making about how the service is provided. Are we paying outside agencies at a higher cost than we should be? And would it be better to have more internal work from the council? But I think my major point is that none of us on this call have had the opportunity to scrutinise the finances of Surrey County Council. And I think that if that happened, I think that a lot of things may be found out.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we've come to the end of this first segment, and I'm sure you'll agree it's gone very quickly, and we've only managed to scratch the surface of the issues relating to the County Council. In the next section, we'll be looking at unitary authority, something that a couple of you have mentioned in that debate. So thank you very much, and we'll break off now, and then we'll proceed with the second section soon. Thank you. Bye.